Recently, I posted a video about 8 simple grammar mistakes made by Chinese learners of English. I think it's time I talked about another marking criteria, lexical resource. So here are 9 common vocabulary mistakes in English, often made by native Chinese speakers. Yes, I tried learning flute when I was about 10, but I didn't succeed. Yes, I tried learning the flute when I was about 10, but I didn't succeed. As you can see in this example, I've given you 2 common mistakes. The first one is when you talk about an instrument, you need to use the word the. So you play the guitar. Don't say play guitar or learn the guitar. Learn the piano, learn the flute. The other mistake was with the word success. Chinese learners of English often use the noun form success when they need to use the verb form succeed. Using a word inappropriately limits your score in lexical resource. If you use a lot of words which not many people know, then you can still easily score a 7, even if you make minor errors with the words, but the meaning remains clear. Errors with common words will give you a lower score. Success does not fall in the category of a wide range of vocabulary, so you should always use the correct form of this word if you want to score above 5. By the way, do you know what the adjective form of this word is? It depends on what I'm buying. I'm not really like shopping for clothes. It depends on what I'm buying. I don't really like shopping for clothes. This mistake with like is normally considered a grammar mistake because like is a present tense verb. So you can't use am in front of it. I spoke about this mistake with a similar verb, enjoy, in my previous video about 8 common grammar mistakes. But this particular word like is misused often enough that I wanted to include it here as a vocabulary mistake. Keep in mind, if you say I'm like or I'm not really like, then like becomes an adjective and it changes the meaning. It means I'm similar to. So you can say I'm not really like my brother. Of course, with I'm, you can use very. For example, I'm very like my father. So be careful, the meaning changes depending on whether you say I like or I'm like. One final reminder, you can say I really like, but you can't say I very like. A documentary of interest I watched recently was Cowspiracy, although I watched it online. An interesting documentary I watched recently was Cowspiracy, although I watched it online. You can't use the phrase of interest to replace interesting, such as in the previous example, because the 2 phrases don't have exactly the same meaning. If something is of interest, then it attracts your attention. We normally use it in phrases such as, do you see anything of interest? And never in the phrase, movie of interest. Although movie of interest in this context is still wrong, the meaning is clear enough, so it won't cause too many misunderstandings. But if you're talking about an interesting person, then you really should avoid saying person of interest, because according to the Cambridge Dictionary, it means a person who the police think might have been involved in a crime, but who has not been arrested. Not very often. I spend most of my free time on the phone. Not very often. I spend most of my free time on my mobile or computer. The phrase on the phone is an idiom which means speaking on the telephone. So if you mean using a mobile phone for any reason other than calling someone, then you should use a different phrase, such as using mobile phone apps or chatting online on my mobile or something else. I born in mainland China, but I grew up in Hong Kong. I was born in mainland China, but I grew up in Hong Kong. This is another mistake that would normally be classed as a grammar mistake. I was born in is an example of the past simple passive tense. However, this particular mistake, I born in, is so common that I thought I should correct it here as a useful phrase. So remember to say I was born in, not I born in. While this particular mistake won't cause much difficulty for the listener, it is basic enough that it can easily limit your score in grammatical range and accuracy to 5. I'd like to talk about my cat Felix. My father bought him for my last birthday because he knows how much I love cat. I'd like to talk about my cat Felix. My father bought him for my last birthday because he knows how much I love cats. There is a big difference in meaning between I love cat and I love cats. I love cats means you love the animal, whereas I love cat means you love the taste of cat flesh. I prefer articles which can somehow build up my knowledge. I prefer articles which can somehow increase my knowledge. Increase one's knowledge is an example of a verb-noun collocation. What's a collocation? A collocation is 2 or more words that are typically used together. Build up your knowledge is not an acceptable collocation. To score a 7 or more for lexical resource, you need to show some awareness of collocations. This is also true for the writing test. If you are lack of a necessary ingredient while cooking, your neighbour can give you some. If you lack a necessary ingredient while cooking, your neighbour can give you some. This mistake is also normally considered a grammar mistake because lack on its own is a verb. And again, you can't use am or are in front of a simple present tense verb. However, you can use the more casual noun phrase, a lack of, but for this, you must use the verb have, not am. Okay, thanks for watching. See you next time.